Hey everyone, my name is David Rao and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Facebook, on Instagram, on Patreon, on a variety of places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. So tonight I'm going to be sharing about a song that is near and dear to my heart because I learned it in elementary school and it's one of the ones that I am teaching as an elementary school teacher. So it's fun to like take a song that I learned as a kid in my elementary music classroom and bring it back and use it for a new way. And I'm going to share about how I'm teaching that song and then how I'm incorporating it into my first grade concert in just a couple weeks. And that's coming up in just a second. So let me get all the important housekeeping stuff out of the way. If you hear about anything fun or exciting in this video that you want to learn more about, there's a whole page on my blog dedicated to the links and the stuff and the things I talk about. You can find it by going to makemomentsmatter.org and clicking the video tab, or you can just, wherever you're watching or listening to this, there should be a link at the bottom of the caption. You should go straight there to the links page. Okay, also two exciting things that you can participate in if you want. Oh, and I forgot that if I do if I do like a peace sign on the video, that it makes balloons show up for some reason. I don't know why it does that in live videos. It's fun. Okay, thanks, Meta. Okay, so sorry about that if you're watching the video. So two exciting things coming up. There's a live webinar tomorrow night that I'm doing with Tiffany English and the great folks at Teaching with Orff. It's all about how to like get started with Orff Schulberg. If you're curious about Orff Schulberg, if you want to learn more, Tiffany is the executive director of AOSA. She's a former president of AOSA, and she's also just like a brilliant teacher. And so I'm so excited to be getting to share a lesson with her tomorrow. That's tomorrow, Tuesday, the 25th at 7 Central Time. And you can, there's a link on my links page to go to that, but it's just Teaching with Orff. It's one of their webinars. They do webinars all year long. And so I'm excited to share part of the time with Tiffany tomorrow night. So if you're like, I can't do in-person stuff, this is one that you can do. Or if you sign up, you can also get a replay. If you're like, I can't do it live tomorrow, but I want to see this webinar, you can sign up and you can get a replay of that and also like a PD credit form from them. So it's super cool. So check that out. That's through Teaching with Orff tomorrow night. And then upcoming, I will be in Texas, in Forney, Texas on April 26th, I believe, for an in-person workshop. It's free. It's sponsored by Forney ISD Fine Arts Department and West Music, and it's free to music educators. So come, it's going to be 9 to 3. It's very exciting. It's at the OC in Forney, Texas. So if you're in the Dallas area, Forney area, come and join us. That's in like about a month in Texas. Okay, great segue, because speaking of Texas, this is a song. It's a cowboy song, and it's one that I'm really excited to share because I learned this song when I was in elementary school. I remember learning this with Mrs. Riddick, my elementary music teacher, who was fantastic. And while I thought, this is a great, a fun cowboy song, it actually was originally written down in Kansas. So like me, my kids get excited sometimes about songs where like, oh, it's originally from our state. Well, cool. And so the reason I'm teaching this song to my students right now, and I'm teaching it to first grade, you could go up or down depending on what you wanted to do with the song. Honestly, if I were going to put it in my teaching, like the curriculum, if I was going to place it, it'd probably be second grade or maybe a little higher, just because the range of the song is kind of bigger. And so I would probably put it for a grade older than first grade. But the reason I'm bringing it down to first grade is it is accessible to them. It is not out of their range of possibility. But the reason is because in a couple weeks, I'm doing a concert with first grade called Growing Up. And in that, we talk about like things as kids and things that you do as you're growing up. And then there's a little tiny part of it where we dedicate to like occupations, like what could we be. So one of the songs is about a doctor, and one is about a cowboy and whatever. And so this is the cowboy song. So it's just mostly, this concert is like, how can I take mostly first grade songs and string them together with a kind of theme, and like songs we would be learning anyway, but like I want to have a concert, not like, spend 6 weeks teaching songs that we are never, ever going to use ever again. And so this is one of the songs that like does fit kind of right in and is fun for kids. And so that's why I'm teaching it. Now, I'm going to share like my teaching process and sing the song and sort of share how it goes. Um, but just know that like this is hilarious to me because it's one that I learned as a kid. And I remember like hauling my chair down to the music room and like doing this with Mrs. Riddick years and years ago. So it's near and dear to me. And you might be like, this is kind of fun, but I don't know if I could work it in the same kind of way. That's fine. You use it however you'd want to use it. But there are definitely some fun things coming here. So what I start with is when I talk with kids, I talk about like what are things about cowboys that you know, or that like vocabulary that like you know, words that cowboys use or things that cowboys use. So what are some things that you know about cowboys? And they're like, okay, well, usually I'll get like cowboy hat or like horse, cows, right? Some of them are like spurs or like reins or lasso. So my my kids, we live in a or they live in a suburb of Kansas City, and so while some of them have been on horses or around horses, not all of them. And so depending on where you live in the country, you might get very different sort of responses about this, and that is cool. But my kids, again, they know a couple things, and so I say, well, that's great. There are a couple words though that you're going to need to know to make this song work. And so let me explain some. And so then I pull out, I actually have a resource here. I'm going to see if I can show it. So years and years ago, whenever I started teaching songs, and I wanted to, let me see if I can flip those around here. When I started teaching songs with more expanded vocabulary, especially folk songs, and I wanted kids to have a better understanding, I would pull things together all in one resource, and I call them favorite folk song resources. I started selling them on Teachers Pay Teachers, just so other people could have these resources too. But I made one for this particular song. So I think it's showing. We'll see. If you can't see it, leave a comment, but I'm pretty sure it's up there. Anyway, so the point is that I originally thought I would use these as bulletin boards, so they are accessible as bulletin boards, which is why there are a couple pages that say like, learn about my favorite folk song, or my favorite folk song of the week, favorite folk song of the month, favorite folk song, whatever. But you can also do it as not just as, gosh, we'll see if it's, hello, can you see it? Oh, doesn't want to. I love when technology works. It's totally working. It's not working. Hold on. Let me see if I can get it now. There we go, kind of. Okay. Anyway, so I started making these thinking like I would use them as bulletin boards, but I've realized now that like I want to use them mostly as like teaching aids. And so yeah, so, sorry. Okay, so I want to use them as teaching aids, which is why I have way more in the resource that is more of a teaching aid than it is maybe like a bulletin board, but you could really use it for both. So there are these like title slides. Then there's all this weird like sideways slide that says like kindergarten, first grade, second grade. That's why is because you could like print out and cut out which grade you're going to do it with. There's a thing about where is it from. It's originally from Texas. There's a slide about what is a folk song, what makes it a folk song, a little bit of history, first written down in 1922. And there's a very famous musician who did a cover of it. There's a thing about cowboy songs. But really what I'm using with my first graders and what I'm doing with this specific song is I'm talking about, it's weird. Facebook is showing a weird thing. Sorry. I just want to make sure that they can actually see this. Supposedly, okay. So what I'm doing with this song is I'm using it to teach vocabulary. And so some of the things that I would talk about is maybe cowboy song, but I'm definitely talking about this thing called a corral. What is a corral? What does that look like? And why do we use that word? So a corral is a place where you fence in to keep animals for whatever reason. I might talk about the word tune, probably not for this particular version with these kids, but you could if you're doing it with an older group. But we talk about what is a brand, what is a shoot, and what do we say when we mean press along? What do we mean? Because those are all things that come up in the story. And I feel like if you're going to teach a song with like weird vocabulary, you should explain what that is so that kids like, you know, have an understanding. So they're not just singing this thing without any understanding of what that actually means. So I definitely worked long and hard to find a picture of a brand that was not like on a poor animal's hide. So this one is on a ram's horn. You can see a brand. There's a chute, which is that ramp that helps cattle or any sort of livestock get from a pen or a corral into a train or a truck or whatever. And then there's press along, which is kind of a way to say get moving. Okay, so those are the things that I show to kids, and I use those examples just so kids have an understanding of what those words are, because I say they're going to come up a lot. In fact, the corral is maybe the most important because the song is called the Big Corral, and so we're trying to get these cows into the corral. Now, before you even learn any of the words, you got to know the actions. And so, and this is what I said. So the first thing is you got to get on your horse. You got to pretend you know your horse is here, and you got to be able to ride the horse. And so we do this thing, we're like bouncing up and down on the horse, holding the reins in front of us. And I say, that is great. Now, I'm going to do the actions and I'm going to sing. Your job is to try and match the actions that I show you. Okay, so I'm going to sing the song and I'm going to show you the actions that I do. So it goes, that big old brute from the cattle chute, press along to the big corral. He should be branded on the snoot. Press along to the big corral. Okay, now when I'm singing this with the first graders, I'm singing in falsetto because I'm trying to match the pitch that they would sing. But you get the idea. So that's the main song. And basically what I'm doing is I'm just doing a little bounce as if I'm riding a horse and pointing off into the distance of where we're going to take that big old brute. And when we say brute, we're talking about a big old mean cow. And I have a picture of that in the folk song set too. And I talk about, it's like a longhorn. And my kids have seen cows before, but they have never seen, well, some of them maybe, but they've not generally seen longhorn cattle, except for maybe like on TV, hook 'em horns, that's one of the Texas schools, right? Sports. Okay. That's my one sports reference for the week. But no, they've seen like maybe images or stuff, but like a real picture of a real longhorn cow is surprising for them. So I say, but this is not a nice one. Some cows are nice. This is a mean one. They call him a brute. That big old brute from the cattle chute. Remember we talked about chute so that you get, cows into the train or into the truck or whatever. Anyway, so watch those actions again. We do it again of them bouncing and then the pointing off in the distance. So it's kind of A, B, A, B, A, B action because it's like bounce, point, bounce, point. And so I do that enough times where they can sort of get some of the words and then we learn it phrase by phrase. I'll sing it, they repeat back, I'll sing it, they repeat back. And it's pretty repetitive, so this is not a tricky thing for them. So again, we're just doing that big, and actually, I think the original lyrics are that ugly brute from the cattle chute. But I learned it when I was in elementary school, big old brute, so that's what I'm singing. That big old brute from the cattle chute, press along to the big corral. He should be branded on the snoot. And that's when I point to my nose. Press along to the big corral. And I say, what was that word we sang? He should be branded on the what? And they're like, snout. I was like, oh, I did not say snout. I said snoot. And why? It probably should be snout, but snout does not rhyme with shoot. And so I'm saying snoot. Snoot, shoot. That's right. That rhyme. And so they're like, oh, it's funny, but I just go into my like cowboy teaching mode, and I try and explain like, yeah, it should be snout. But to make it rhyme, we're going to say snoot. Okay, so then they learn those actions. Very easy. It goes pretty quick. And then I say, okay, now there's another part. You got that part. So I teach that phrase by phrase. I have them sing. I sit at the piano. Oh my gosh. And then I got to do my favorite thing that Mrs. Riddick did when I was in elementary school. Can you hear that? I'm going to say my microphone really close to me. That accompaniment pattern. Oh my gosh. I remember having to like learn that in like second grade when I was playing piano, like different accompaniment patterns. Oh my gosh. And I remember like thinking I was so cool in second grade because I was playing like Mrs. Riddick would play when she was doing a cowboy song. Oh my gosh, so cool. So there I imagine me sitting, reliving as if I'm Mrs. Riddick teaching the children and playing the piano. So I do that and I play and we sing the verse. And then I say, okay, but there's another part. There's the chorus. And this is a pretty fun part because it goes, press along, cowboy, press along to the big corral. Press along, cowboy, press along to the big corral. And they like love that because there's like this press along, a long held note as you point off in the distance. And when you go cowboy, you bring your hand like you're like all right, you bring your fist down across your chest like I don't know what you'd call that action, but anyway, you bring your hand down. The kids like think that's the coolest action. I don't know why, but they like love it. Great. Okay, so that chorus again is press along, cowboy, press along to the big corral. Press along, cowboy, press along to the big corral. And so the kids, we again go phrase by phrase. We learn that song. We learn the chorus, which it does sound very similar to the verse, but then they're fine to say, okay, you know what? I think I forgot. Oh yes, there's one more thing, and I forgot to do it. I'm gonna see if you can find out the new thing. You just listen and I'm going to sing the whole song and you see if you can find the new part that I forgot to teach you, but I think you'll be able to hear it. Okay, you just listen careful. All right, you can try the actions if you want, but I bet you're going to get it. Okay, and so all of y'all will see if you can get this new part. I bet you're going to get it. So the song goes, that big, or I'll do the actual, that ugly brute from the cattle chute, press along to the big corral. And I say, did I do it yet? Did I do the new part? And they're like, no, you haven't done it yet. Okay, good. He should be branded on the snoot. Press along to the big corral. Did I do the new part yet? Did I get to it? They're like, no, you didn't get to it. Okay, okay. Press along, cowboy. Press along to the big corral. Yippee-yay! Press along, cowboy. Press along to the big corral. And I was like, did you hear the new part? And they're like, yeah. And they're all like excited because the yippee-yay, they're like, I was like, you got to pretend you got a cowboy hat on you. Yippee-yay! And you throw it in the air. But the best part of this is it's unexpected. So what we're going to do when we do this for parents, press along, cowboy, like nothing's going to happen. And then you got to do the yippee-yay and go right back to singing because then it's going to be like crazy, like whiplash, like what happened? Did that happen? And then, so they think it is so funny and they think it's funny. They're going to like pull one over on their parents. Their parents aren't going to know that's coming. And then out of nowhere comes a yippee-yay. And then we talk also like, where does it happen? Does it happen in the verse? Does it happen in the chorus? Does it happen at the end? Does it happen, where it's only in that connecting spot in the middle in the chorus that you got to throw in a yippee-yay. Oh my gosh, but it became an instant favorite. And the great thing about it is not tricky for them to learn. It took less than a class period for them to learn. So it's easy to throw and add into a program. It's super fun for them. It's not too complicated, but it's complicated enough. It shows their range. It gets them singing on a nice, like a long held sustained note. So like it gets them up in the voice of one sing. So it's a fun song. It has some really fun parts to it, and it's pretty easy to learn. So I do use the resource I was sharing because I want them to know about the vocabulary. So them seeing some of those things is really helpful. And it's helpful to explain some of those words that maybe they aren't familiar with because they're like cowboy vocabulary or whatever. There are definitely some things where you could expand if you wanted to do an older grade, or you don't even have to do all of that if you didn't want to, but there are definitely a few more things. Also on that resource that I shared, and I won't flip back to it, but there's also a page with links where if you want to like share like media links, so like one is there's a video of this being done, of people singing this. There's a recorded version by Gene Autry singing this song. There's a video about the cattle drive, about the Chisholm Trail, like what that was. And then there's some pictures of cows and stuff. There's the notation if you need the written notation, things like that. But just resources that like you can use if you want to level it up a grade, if you want to take it to another grade, if you want to teach it differently, those are there. Anyway, this is one that we're going to be putting in the concert in a couple weeks, so I'm really excited about it. And I'm excited about the other songs. I hope to do a video in a couple weeks about that program and like how it's going or what I've done different with that. I've done something like it in the past, but not quite like this, so I'm excited to share about that maybe soon. But if you want more ideas, more things, remember there is a workshop online tomorrow with Teaching with Orff. That's going to be me and Tiffany English. I'm so excited if you're interested about Orff Schulberg, but you want to know more. This is going to be a fun session that you can come to. That's tomorrow live, but if you can't make it live, you can get the recording and watch it later. There's a link to that on my links page. Also, if you want, West Music and the Forney ISD Fine Arts Department are sponsoring my workshop on April 26th, I think, in Forney, Texas. So that's a free workshop. Sign up for that. Music teachers in the Texas, Dallas area, Dallas, Forney area. I hope you'll come and join us. Okay, well, if you don't sign up for tomorrow for Teaching with Orff, I'll see you all in another week for another Musical Mondays video. Thanks for coming along with me tonight. Good night, everyone.